Hello and welcome back to the Knit by Day podcast. This is our third episode. If you don't know by now, my name is Deja. You can find me on Instagram at Knit by Day or on Ravelry at Days Jam. Today is October the something. I want to say it's the 17th. So we're creeping up on the mid to end of October, which is kind of crazy, which I'm sure we all say around this holiday season, things just kind of start flying by. But I feel like 2020 has, as I'm sure many of you it's just been like 5 years rolled into one. So it feels like it's never ending. So the fact that we're kind of getting into the later months of the year is really exciting for me. I'm ready to be done with it. But today I have a finished object. So let's go ahead and start right off the bat with our finished objects. I have the much awaited for Penguono as my finished object. I am excited and a little bit sad to be done with this project. Like I've said in the last 2 episodes, I've loved knitting this, and it's really the project that brought my knitting mojo back. So the fact that it's done is slightly sad, but I am really excited to have my needles freed up to cast on all the other things. So here is our final project. And the back. All right. I will go ahead and pop it on for you so you can have a general idea of how this lays. As I said when I mentioned it in previous episodes, I did knit a much smaller size. I don't have nearly as much positive ease, I think, as Steven intended for the pattern, which is great. I wanted it to be a little bit, it's definitely loose fitting, but I wanted it to be a little more fitted than his original version. So let me see if I can get an awkward like crouching pose for you so that you can kind of see it on my body. Right? There she is. I mentioned in the last episode that I really wasn't sure about these orange sleeves, and I'm still not. But like I said last time, like I don't think I care enough to fix it. So I'm not gonna go change the color or anything like that. I'm gonna leave it as is. This piece is wild. It's super fun. It's got all kinds of crazy colors. I really like it, but at the same time I recognize that I think anyone who isn't a knitter would find it absolutely atrocious. And it's got like a bunch of 90s colors going on. So yeah, I recognize that it is probably ugly to most people, but I really enjoyed the project. So even if I get 0 wear out of this, I loved all of it. And honestly, I'll probably wear it anyway because I have a tendency to not really care what other people think. I might not wear it to work though. Yeah, so Penguono, highly recommend. This is a pattern by Stephen West. If you don't know that, what rock are you living under? Because yeah, I think even if you didn't know the Penguono was a Stephen West pattern, you could probably infer just because it's crazy. It's got all kinds of techniques in it, and that's kind of Stephen's jam. Speaking of, have y'all seen his current mystery knit along? He does one annually. I know I participated in the one last year, but I didn't finish the one last year. It was like the star flake shawl. I didn't finish it last year, so I opted not to do it this year. But if you've seen some of the teasers for what is now his MCAL, it is gorgeous. And I know for a fact that once that's released as a full pattern, I'm gonna go in and definitely knit it. But I need some time to kind of like, I want to see what the finished project looks like, and I want to see, I want to be a little bit more planned with my colors. Like I said, I really enjoyed not knowing what colors I was going to use for the Penguono and kind of just picking at my stash as I did. But I think that resulted in a piece that I love, but also one that I maybe won't get as much wear out of if, you know, I had stuck to my usual color palette. So my testers are officially done with my hat here that I still have not named. It will likely, I think I'm gonna name this one after my friend Melissa, because I actually originally designed this pattern for her. And for those of you who do not know, Melissa is Latin for honeybee, which this was meant to be a very honeycomb pattern. But anyway, testers are officially done with this. They finished up this week, so I need to go in, finish editing my portion of the pattern, kind of get it looking neat and pretty for you. And then I believe I'm gonna go ahead and just release this on October 31st. So we'll do a Halloween release. And then I may, because I know that, and I know that a lot of people were having issues with Revelry, the new design on Revelry causing migraines and other issues dealing with health, and I don't want you to feel like you can't gain access to my patterns simply because it would give you headaches too. So I think I might actually I'll look for an alternative place to post it as well. I don't want to charge anything for this pattern because it is my first pattern and I'm still kind of getting the feel of writing my thoughts onto paper. And so if it has any major issues, which I hope that my testers caught any major issues, but if it does, I don't want you to have paid for something that I didn't quite have the skill to produce, if that makes any sense. So this will be a free pattern across all mediums, and I'll just have to let you know what I figure out as far as where I'm going to release the pattern other than Ravelry. Next up, I do have a hoe. I have a half object. Ooh, it is way over there. Hold on. I do have a half object. So I mentioned in my last episode that I was really craving some textured socks, and I hinted that I might be looking at the Coffee Talk socks by Tracie Miller. I did cast those on, so here they are. Let's see. The yarn I'm using, I mentioned on the last episode, but it is Long Dog yarn, and it is on, I think I called this Clean Fraser last time, but it's definitely Clan Fraser. Yeah, but it is in her bounce socks, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. Now, I don't know that Long Dog is still producing this colorway or even this base, because as you can see, so this is the label that came on this yarn, and this is her current label. So she's definitely done a rebranding since that colorway, and I'm not entirely sure if that's one she ever still offers. Again, got it at a D-stash, so that's the thing with D-stash. You never know how old the yarn is, and if it's coming from an indie dyer, you never know if you're going to be able to get that yarn again. So hopefully she is still producing it, because it's a gorgeous colorway and I think it's perfect for Halloween. So if you could get your hands on it, you should. Yeah, I really enjoyed this pattern. I don't typically knit textured socks. I'm very much a vanilla sock person, but this took me about a day to whip up. I mean, the texture that does exist on it is a quick, simple, easy to remember repeat, and it was something that I was able to do while just watching Netflix and hanging out. So I think that for the most part, most intermediate sock knitters should be able to do this and do it pretty easily. I don't know if this is true for anybody else, but I would have considered myself an avid knitter, quite a skilled knitter, about 2 or 3 years ago. I was knitting sweaters, I was doing color work, I felt quite skilled, but for whatever reason, I could not wrap my head around socks. There was something about knitting a sock that just totally threw me off my game until about a year ago. A year ago, I knit my first sock that fit well and that I understood like how and why I was doing the techniques that I was doing. And that's when kind of my sock knitting mojo took off a little bit. Now I feel like I could knit most any sock, but it's weird because I felt like I was a great knitter, and then there was this whole garment, or I don't know, you wouldn't call it a garment. There was this whole accessory in knitting that I just could not grasp for whatever reason. If that is the case for you, then I would suggest going to Crazy Sock Lady, her channel, and watching some of her videos. I didn't do that to learn how to knit socks. I don't know what happened, what clicked. I just kept trying different sock patterns until one finally went through to me. But I do know that Crazy Sock Lady has a ton of tutorials, and I'm sure they're all phenomenal. So I would give that a shot if you're still struggling for whatever reason. Also feel free to reach out to me, but I don't know that I could actually really guide you through anything. I imagine that the second sock will be done fairly soon. I'm hoping by this weekend, but I do tend to get a case of second sock syndrome. Yeah, I think the sooner I cast it on, the more likely it will be to get off my needles, but we'll have to see about that. Moving on to whips, I have my weekender sweater that I showed last week. So here she is. You can see I went ahead and put a little gold stitch marker where I was when I showed you on the podcast last week. So I've put a little bit of a dent in it, but honestly really not that much. Or it doesn't look like that much because it's fingering weight yarn. Also, it probably just isn't that much. I have gone ahead and started to split for the sleeves. So you can see a tiny little hole forming where there will eventually be a sleeve. Not really much more to write home about as far as that pattern goes. I am still really enjoying it, and it's been super nice to kind of have it. I keep it at my office for the most part, and just whenever there's a lull, whenever I'm doing something that's a little bit passive, I pick it up, and it's really just, up until splitting for the seams, it's been stockinetting around, which many of you know is just the bee's knees, my favorite thing to do. But since splitting for the seams, there is a little bit more back and forth, and I do have to do some purling. If you watched the last 2 episodes, you know that I do have other things on my needles. I have the little baby sweater, the Flax by Tin Can, for my niece, and then I have my habitation, and I have my little black cardigan that's in yellow for me. But I did not touch any of them. Like I said, there's just not enough time in a week. My hope is that, you know what, I'm not gonna say that because I said that last week. I was gonna say my hope is to pick up and knit on that cardigan, but I don't think I will. Probably not until my weekender gets complete. I'm kind of weird about my knits. So I am mostly monogamous when it comes to, okay, how am I gonna explain this? Basically, I like to cast on all of the things. I will cast on 30 things in a week, and then I will become monogamous with one. So I'll have a million different things on my needles, but I'll be knitting on one thing. This week it happened to be my Penguono, and then my sock, and then a little bit of my weekender. But mostly my Penguono and then my sock. Because I really love the joy of getting things done, but I also love the joy of casting on for whatever reason. There is something so nice about a brand new project on your needles. So I'm kind of looking for some instant gratification all across the board. Speaking of casting on all the things, let's talk about future knits, since none of my other whips got any work this week. If you've seen the first podcast, you will recognize this yarn. This is Long Dog yarn in her Rum Runner colorway, and it is a gorgeous color in her Marina DK base. I had mentioned on the first podcast that this was going to be my next cast on. That ended up not being true because I got the sock yarn that was very Halloween, and I decided I had to have those for Halloween, so I cast those on next. But I am casting on today for what this will eventually be, which is the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie May. When I was talking about this on the first podcast, I really wasn't sure what kind of sweater it was going to be. I'm going with the Cozy Classic because if you haven't knit Jessie May's designs, she is incredible. I've loved everything I've knit from her, and so I'm really excited to try one that I haven't. This one is a super simple, just raglan pullover, which is great, and I think her pattern will just be phenomenal with this color. I want something super simple that's more than anything going to show off the colorway, but that will fit well and look really good as well. I'm thinking that, actually I'm not thinking, I know that I'm really going to be pushing it with the yarn and playing a bit of yarn chicken, but that's something I'm known for. I'm constantly playing yarn chicken because why buy another skein if you can stress yourself out? Get a little adrenaline rush. I think the way that I am going to hopefully mitigate running out of yarn is I'm going to, I don't even know if this pattern is bottom up or top down, but whatever it is, I'm just going to make the body a little bit cropped, I think. That tends to be my preferred fit anyway, and so I don't have a problem with running out of yarn on the body. My hope is that I get enough out of it so that it at least hits my hip, and then that I can also have long sleeves. If I can't make it to the hip and have long sleeves, I'll go quarter sleeves or whatever, but hopefully I have enough yarn. So those are my plans, though. That's pretty much the end of knitting content for you guys this week. I am gonna chat quickly about some non-knitting things. So no more knitting content if that's what you're here for. I totally get it. Feel free to click off now. I will not be offended. I will be offended, but it's not your problem. I am really big on subscription boxes. So really anything that I can get shipped straight to my house monthly, I am all about it. So for instance, I get my razors shipped to me, I get my face wash shipped to me, I get my feminine products shipped to me. Literally anything I could possibly not have to go to the store for, I get it shipped straight to my house. And one of the things since COVID hit that I have started is the Book of the Month Club. And I wanted to share this on this podcast because I know that knitters, for whatever reason, are also big readers. I think that has to do with, probably our level of patience and the fact that we're a little bit old-fashioned. So I wanted to talk quickly about my experience with Book of the Month because it is something that I had considered for a really long time before I actually pulled the trigger on it. Many of you have probably seen their ads on Instagram, have seen their ads on Facebook, and maybe many of you have started the process of getting ready to check out and then not, because that's what I did. I have to tell you that if you're even thinking about it, do it. Do it, do it. For those of you who knit, you'll know that the hobby of shopping for yarn and the hobby of actually knitting are two different hobbies. Like that, they in themselves are two separate entities almost, right? Like I love to build my stash and I love to knit. So that has become a little bit what this experience has been for me. So I love on the first of the month when I get to pick my book, and I love the day that it finally comes to me. and I get to read it. It is only $10 a month, and I think, if I'm correct, I can actually get you a discount. If I can, I will pop it in the description box below. I think there's like a referral code or something. Every month you get to choose from, I believe it's 5 books, and they're all usually pretty different. They're usually new releases. These are typically books that I would be buying anyway, except now it's only $10. Cool thing about these books is that they're always hardcover. And if you look at the 5 books and you're not able to choose just one, you get the option of adding one on, which is cool. And then there's also, outside of the 5 picks for the month, there are a whole array of other add-ons, books that have been part of the selection in prior months. So this was actually one of my add-on books. I am a huge fan of Blake Crouch, and if you are at all a fan of the sci-fi genre, then he's your guy. This is his newest book, and so I knew that when I saw this that I would have to add it on. As far as life stuff, not too much is different from my normal. The only thing this weekend, actually here in the next hour or so, probably a little bit less, we're gonna drive over to my dad's and stay the night. Christian and my dad like to hunt. They're best friends. It's actually kind of cute. So they go hunting together, and first of all, ew. But it usually means that nobody's gonna bother me all weekend, and I get to read and knit and do all the things that I want to do. So I'm really okay with going over there and hanging out on the couch and doing my thing for a little while. He lives about 40 minutes away. On the way over there, I'm probably gonna cast on my Cozy Classic and get to knitting on that. So hopefully I'll have some good content for y'all on the next episode. Looking ahead to next episode, I am gonna go ahead and start pushing this podcast back to a bi-weekly, not back to, because this is a brand new thing, but I'm gonna push this to a bi-weekly podcast instead of a weekly one. I do so much enjoy coming up here and chatting with you guys for a bit, but I realized that it puts a little bit of pressure on me to finish projects. And as I was saying before, I don't want any part of this to feel like a job. I really want to just sit, enjoy my knitting, and then come here and chat to you guys about it. So I want to take the time I need with my knitting, but I also want to have interesting content to share with you guys. So I think for that reason, we're gonna go every other week, which means I will see you guys two Sundays from now. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy your knitting, and I will see you guys shortly. Bye.